Welcome back to 2K26 CM Punk. Go!
When I returned to WWE, I knew not everyone was going to be thrilled. Drew McIntyre made it clear to everyone watching that he was one of those people with an axe to grind. I don't know, maybe it's jealousy that I could be gone for over a decade and still have fans talking about me while he was on top. But then at the 2024 Royal Rumble, Drew nearly took it all away when his future shock DDT tore my tricep. So instead of competing at WrestleMania, I had to sit and watch. But I still managed to get involved.
Punk just dropped McIntyre on the table!
And then again at Clash in the Castle.
Oh my God! The balls of CM Punk!
And again at Money in the Bank, ruining Drew's cash-in.
Punk with the title to the face of McIntyre!
Good times. But I was finally cleared to return to action shortly after, and now we could finally settle things in the ring. SummerSlam saw him victorious after some truly atrocious officiating from Seth Rollins, but I'd get my payback at Bash in Berlin when I beat him in a grueling strap match. That put the series at 1-1, with both of us looking to attack the other whenever possible. Now this chaos led to one feasible outcome. It was time for us to go to hell in a cell. Beating Drew at Hell in a Cell was brutal, exhausting, and probably took years off of my life. But getting my arm raised was all worth it. Let's go back to that night, Bad Blood 2024. Get Drew in the cell, and let's show him that you can say whatever you want to about me, but when you bring a man's dog into things, that's a line you do not cross.
Fairly true, considering that dog was like him and his wife, AJ Lee's child, and yeah. That's how it goes. So I have covered Drew McIntyre in a WWE 2K25 video, so I'm not going to bore you with his history again. But instead, there's still going to be a history lesson in the match types. Welcome to the cell, because I don't know how they feel about the front part of the word. No, I don't know how they feel about the word hell. But, what am I even talking about? I'm not monetized yet. What's it matter at this rate? Anyway, the Hell in the Cell match debuted 1997. Bad Blood in Your House. So the very first match was Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. And while it was known for being very violent, dramatic, storyline heavy, and just plain old barbaric, this particular match introduced Kane, The Undertaker's brother. That's more or less what the first Cell match was known for. Quickly though, it was established early on that this match is a feud ender, similar to as Punk had talked about during the montage leading up to this match, where he and McIntyre had traded wins back and forth. Punk got one win, McIntyre won the strap match in Berlin. They fought, so now it was time to go here. The event, yes, was called Bad Blood. They did not do anything like rig a spectral arena or anything. No, it was actually at a Bad Blood event. But I just thought it was kind of funny that the first one took place at Bad Blood, and then, of course, we're playing at a Bad Blood arena. One of the most notable matches using the Hell in a Cell was at the King of the Ring, in which Mankind took on The Undertaker. That match was known for Mankind / Mick Foley, who was always known for taking some very ridiculous, over-the-top, and dangerous, as they call them, bumps. He was thrown from the top of the cell through the Spanish announce table, eventually got his way back up on the cage before being chokeslammed through the cell into the ring. That match didn't necessarily have a winner, but it was known for being just fully being just a mess and willing to do just about anything. Of course, fast forward a few years later, Mick Foley, using his guise of Cactus Jack, took on Triple H inside the cell, in a retirement, in his like full-on, not fully retirement storyline, but a retirement-esque storyline. Took on Triple H, eventually lost the match, but then he was brought back in the company at like the following, that year's WrestleMania, for a McMahon in every corner 4-way match for the belt. So yeah, do with that information what you will. But the sell had been during like the 90s and early 2000s. You barely saw it. If you saw the match, you saw it, you knew it was over. You knew the feud was over. I do not care about ringside combat right now. There are more important things to do. But eventually in 2009, which I think was a mistake, WWE starts doing a pay-per-view, I know how to break the cell wall, for the event. So it is meant that, so they build up all the matches where eventually one or more matches is going to be contested inside the cell. Personally, while I like the match, the events were fine. I did watch a handful of them. I am not a fan of naming an event after a match, unless you're doing something like TNA did when they had their lockdown pay-per-views. The gimmick with their lockdown pay-per-views was every match took place inside the steel cage. They had a handful of special matches in those, during those events, that were only at lockdown events. Eventually they kind of realized that having a lockdown pay-per-view kind of defeats the whole purpose of having cage matches. So eventually it slowly phased out, but you still had like the event. But the TNA match type, I'm like thinking about at the lockdown event, that was usually always headlined it, was what they called Lethal Lockdown. Basically it was their version of War Game. But the big difference with them was they brought weapons. But again, that's beside the point. The pay-per-view, like I said, my problem was that you're building up for this match, and the match, you know there's going to be at least one. It used to be, when they had a brand split, the main event matches got the sell. So it was usually your world title matches, they got the sell. Before eventually, and that was it. So you had maybe 2 or 3 matches that took place inside the cell, and it was usually your world title matches or whatever your biggest feud going at the time was. Personally, like I said, if you're going to name a match after an event, personally I think you should have all the matches inside the match type itself. Yes, however, I will admit, in kind of a contradictory statement, the Elimination Chamber match, I don't feel you need to have every match inside the chamber, just because they usually don't. And that type of gimmick is a little difficult to justify putting a singles match inside that environment. But you can easily do tag team matches. Heck, they've done it. They've done tag, triple threat, 4-ways. In the video game, you can do up to, I think, 8 people inside the cell. But I digress. So it's like, I know is a little bit contradictory of I don't like naming a pay-per-view after a match, except for this one. But, I mean, it's my opinion. Everyone's entitled to it. Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, other matches that were known that, like some of the big moments, you can always find a compilation of all of these on YouTube, which they are really fun to watch. You have Lesnar versus Undertaker at 2008, and often called one of the best just because of how extremely physical and crazy it was. So that's the good. You have the bad, which really is going to be up to opinion. However, you do have the ugly. Anyone who knows wrestling probably knows where I'm going with this when I refer to the ugly. Seth Rollins versus The Fiend in 2019. A finish that was supposed to be deemed referee stoppage. However, the Fiend character was shown to have gotten taken severe beatings, get back up like nothing happened, and the referee has to stop the match. It was not a good finish, pandered by critics and like casual fans alike of what's going on, why are they stopping the match. You know, The Fiend beats the tar out of everybody. The Fiend no-sells this on Tuesday. Why is this beating him on Sunday? If that makes sense. What am I doing? Okay. Right. So I gotta do it in the ring probably. That's just damaging, whatever. So, yeah, nobody really liked it to the point where at the next show, WWE gave the rematch. It was, now granted, a lot of people were also upset about this match, but the match itself wasn't bad. Where the match was bad, and I'm using quotations around that. It's just because it took place in Saudi Arabia, which those shows always are a little weird. So they had The Fiend versus Seth Rollins, Falls Count Anywhere, and the match couldn't be stopped for any reason because of that much backlash that Cell match had gotten. So, needless to say, they were not too happy, and I wanted that to be the other way around. I wanted to put him through the top of the cell, not me. Alright. And then, of course, you had another good one. Sasha Banks and Bayley, they had a Hell in a Cell match, and that one was good because the two of them were really good friends. So usually when you are good friends behind the scenes, it makes for a good feud on the screen, because in a way, you can kind of, not saying it's a good idea, but they do it all the time, poke into that personal life. Maybe, oh, you would be nothing without me. No, you're nothing without me. You can always do that card. And then you have Reigns and Uso in an I Quit Cell match, which was the start of Roman Reigns' whole bloodline storyline. Well, not the start, but it was the last match before Jay kind of realized what Roman was trying to do and bring the family in. As you can see, some of the key features of the cell is the fact it goes all the way around. You have a little bit of room at the ringside area, unlike a steel cage that locks everything and has no roof. Usually it's designed to prevent the interference, but you know, it's wrestling storyline. There's going to be interference multiple times. But what are we going to do? So yeah, it is usual. So that's the whole bit of the Hell in a Cell. I also did play another one in the last showcase with the New Day versus the Usos. That is another one of those well-regarded cell matches, just because, again, the two tag teams knew each other very well, to the point where their matches, you knew one of them was going to leave, and it was just kind of at that point for the 5 of them, because it was 3 New Day, 2 Usos. Anyway, kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, they've already done everything except have a match in here, so let's put them there and let them go. And it was great. So that's basically it. And now it's time to, I gotta get the wrench. There it is. So get the wrench. I gotta get them in here and clock them with it. So let's see. Well, push comes to shove, he can always eat a Pepsi Plunge. I love the fact they put that in the game now. Well, it's a super finisher, but still. Of course, if you look at the moveset, it's probably known as an Avalanche Pedigree, but Beggars can't be choosers. Will you get up so I can... There we go. Knock you upside the head with this. Up.
Punk missed with a wrench and a low blow by McIntyre.
Remember, that is completely legal. It is distasteful, but it's highly effective, and all the wind knocked out of Punk's sails.
Who cares about being tasteful when you're locked inside of Hell in a Cell, Wade? Drew McIntyre came here to destroy Punk once and for all. And now McIntyre going to introduce the steel steps into this matchup. The Scottish Warrior, this Terminator, just destroying Punk.
Well, you wanted hell, Punk? You're getting hell. You are locked in there, no escape, and your demise may be imminent.
Punk trying to summon the will to continue, and what does McIntyre have inside of that little bag, gentlemen? I can only imagine what this sicko has in mind.
A Scottish psychopath cooking up something dastardly, no doubt.
Oh my God, the disrespect.
Adding insult to injury.
Those are the beads of Punk's bracelet. Were the beads of Punk's bracelet. And McIntyre now looking to just finally put Punk away. No! McIntyre might have just broken his back.
Oh God, the sharp edge of that steel digging in to the lower back of McIntyre, who may be crippled. And now with the upper hand is CM Punk.
This is one of the most brutal matches I've ever witnessed inside Hell in a Cell. Punk trying to shove those beads down McIntyre's throat. Here it comes, the end. GTS connects. Cover off the go to sleep by Punk. And he got him. What a win, what a match.
Here is your winner, CM Punk!
CM Punk earned this victory.
Such a drawn-out, heated rivalry, but finally conquering McIntyre is CM Punk.
Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. I'll catch y'all in the next one.